Happy Monday. So the notes from the lecture that you watched will be due to the inbox after, towards the end of class. What I want you to do today is we are not having a reading quiz. Instead, we would like you to analyze this lovely piece of art right here. It's based on a topic that we talked about actually last week. Something that I said you need to know. Okay, you need to make sure you know this. So go ahead and take a moment. We're going to pause this and start analyzing this picture. And we'll talk about it in a minute. Okay, so if you guessed Republican motherhood, you would be right. This is an idea that definitely was a huge part before, during, and after the American Revolution that really kind of hammered out what a woman's role would be. And she was to really kind of nurture the daughters to be kind of gatekeepers of republicanism, and also to raise up young men to be active, virtuous participants of the republic. And so it kind of hammers out the role of a woman and solidified that. It's not going to be really until 1920s that we have some huge challenges to that role. So keep that in mind. All right, let's keep going. So today, we need to talk about the Constitution and the new republic. And so right now you are going to view episode 6 from the Liberty series. Are We to Be a Nation is the title of this episode. You're not going to see the whole thing, but you are going to start roughly watching about 23 minutes of it. You're going to come in at the point where they have already established and set down at a convention in Philadelphia. Again, the intent was to rewrite the Articles of Confederation, but pretty quickly on, they realized that they had to scrap those and start afresh and create a whole new system of government. 2 delegates from New York will get up and leave and protest, be very upset about this venture. And there's some key players that we're going to talk about. George Washington is one of them. He actually comes out of retirement to preside over the whole convention. So go ahead and stop this video right now and head on over to Liberty, episode 6, and watch the last bit of it, and then we'll come right back. Thanks. Okay, you're back. You watched Liberty. The dangers of the first decade after ratification. We need to look at that. So there's some key things. All right, first of all, framing the new government. The Constitution, there's 55 delegates from 12 states, except for Rhode Island. Key players, I already said this before, George Washington, who'll be the president of the convention. Edmund Randolph from Virginia, who proposes the 3 branches. James Madison, known as the father of the Constitution, partly because he's an amazing note taker. He writes an extensive set of notes. He is very circumspect. He is really good about kind of putting different ideas together to help reach compromise. So we already know one of the major issues is representation. With this plan from Virginia, let's have a bicameral, let's base it on representation. You've got, that is the Virginia plan, and you've got the New Jersey plan. That is, hey, let's have a unicameral system that's only one house, where every state has equal representation. And it is the Great Compromise by Roger Sherman, also known as the Connecticut Compromise. It says, wait, let's do a bicameral, one house, the lower house, House of Reps based on population, the upper house, the Senate, with 2 reps per state. Now, senators were to be elected by state legislatures at this time, not by popular vote. It's not till the 17th Amendment that this changes. That comes a lot later on. Okay, Constitution. It is known as a bundle of compromises, and you could probably figure out why. What we see here is we have a 3/5 compromise. Slaves would count towards 3/5 of a person when determining population of the house. The slave trade compromise, okay, where slave importation, right up here in case you need to follow along, slave importation could not be stopped prior to 1808, okay. We've also got the Commerce Compromise, where Congress could not tax imports, that's no tariffs. I should say, sorry, Congress could tax imports, they could put tariffs on imports, but not exports, okay? All right, then we have to look at sovereignty, the idea of sovereignty. Where does it lie? Who has ultimate power? James Madison really asserts the idea that it's the people. hence it says we the people. Okay. Now there's a couple of things, a couple clauses. There's a supremacy clause and the necessary and proper clause, and these are definitely things you must know, not only this year, but for sure for civics. Okay, so the supremacy clause basically says that the Constitution will be the supreme law of the land. Okay, that's pretty easy. Now the elastic clause, one of my favorites, Congress can make laws that are necessary and proper. Very open-ended, open-ended. We're going to see this is going to be kind of a sticking point. You're going to have the Federalists that are going to be like, yeah, cool, we can do this. We can do what we need to do, especially Hamilton. You're going to have other anti-Federalists that are very caught off guard by this. They're not very happy about this. They are strict to whatever the Constitution says. That's what you can do, no more. And it is this clause that kind of allows things to get a little hairy in the first decade. So let's take a look. When we talk about ratification, you can see here what states were, when they decided to actually ratify with the date. And it's kind of interesting to see how many different colors there are. You have delegates in support of ratification in the purple, all right, delegates opposed to ratification in the lovely little orange color, all right, and districts evenly divided, okay. And so if you look here, Rhode Island, 1790, okay, one of the last to actually adopt this. They were not too keen on it for quite some time. All right, feds and anti-feds. Okay, Federalists, those are the individuals who are in favor of a very strong central government and, of course, the Constitution. You guys should remember from last week, the anti-Federalists, those are people who are in favor of a weaker central government, and they're very weary of the Constitution and very worried about what will happen to the states' rights. All right, the Federalist Papers, you may see an excerpt from the Federalist Papers at some point. It's written by Hamilton, Madison, and John Jay. And these are a series of essays that really kind of explain and defend the Constitution. All right. All right, Federalists implement the new Constitution. Let's take a look. Washington will get the highest number of votes from the Electoral College and was elected president in 1788. John Adams will become his vice president, and it's not like in modern times where they run as running mates. Usually, typically, it was the next runner-up who would become the vice president. So just keep that in mind. It's not like how we have a current system put in place. The cabinet. Now, this is unwritten in the Constitution. This is something asserted by Washington himself. Okay, and the heads of important positions like Secretary of State, Treasury, War are all approved on by the Senate, but they're appointed by the president. And so Washington is the first to do this. He said it was really important that he pick who his cabinet is, who he'd be working with, and so he picked Secretary of State Jefferson, Treasury Hamilton, and Secretary of War Knox. Okay, now the Judicial Act coming around in 1789, it will create the Supreme Court with 1 Chief Justice and 5 Associate Justices. In Article 3 of the Constitution, the Supreme Court would have final judicial say. And we'll see this and we'll kind of review this a little bit more. It's called a judicial review. Something you need to know, judges are appointed for life. They can only be removed for bad behavior, which is, again, kind of open-ended. But they can stay on the benches as long as they want, unless they choose to retire or die. Okay. Now, the Bill of Rights will be added to the Constitution. Madison will be given that job. All right. And at the point where he's writing the Bill of Rights, he is actually a member of Congress. He submits 19 amendments. 10 were approved by 1791. All right. Clash of ideology. These two guys, you should know who they are. This is Hamilton, and this is Jefferson. All right, throughout Washington's first term, Jefferson and Hamilton will battle over the government's role and philosophy. So tomorrow, we're going to get into a little bit more detail on Hamilton's financial plan and, of course, the D.C. Compromise and the Whiskey Rebellion. But today, I would like you to look at political parties just a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to stop here. It's our mini lecture for today, and you'll continue on with the activity set aside for you.